What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new video. In this video, we're going to discuss how to take a wiring harness from a Sportster or a Buell, something like this, chop it up, simplify it, make it super easy to install in your chopper. So you know what? Let's get to it. So this wiring schematic that I drew up will work for a Sportster or a Buell up to 2003 that has the pink wire in the ignition module. So we're going to start at the battery. We're going to go from the battery. We're going to go directly right into the starter. Back down to the battery, we have from the positive side, we're going to go into the one side of the breaker. This is a 30 amp breaker. Out of the other side of the 30 amp breaker, we're going to go into the voltage regulator. That gets power right from the breaker, right into the voltage regulator. The other side has a 2-prong, not a Molex plug, but it has a factory, like a black plug with 2 prongs on it. Now back to the breaker, we're going to go from the breaker all the way up to your ignition key switch. When you turn it one time for your ACC, which would be your power on, that's going to power your headlight, 12 volts to the headlight. From your headlight, to keep everything nice and simple up in the headlight area, you're going to go from your headlight to your brake switch on your bars, out of your brake switch, down to your tail light for your brake light. Now that we're down in the tail light, from the tail light, it's going to go all the way up to your ACC again. So your ACC switch is going to power your tail light for your running lights. Out of your ACC switch again, it's going to go to your white with a black stripe on your coil. Now that's your factory wires from your coil are going to be white and black and pink. So your white and black on your coil is going to be your rear spark plug. Sticking to the coil here, you're going to come down, you're going to have your pink wire go into your ignition module. Your pink wire in your ignition module is going to be your front spark plug. And you have to get that right or the bike will sputter and spit. So down to your pink wire on the ignition module. You're going to have a purple wire. That's for your vacuum. You're not going to use that. Cut that off. You're not going to need it. Unless you want to run the vacuum switch and all that other stuff into your carburetor. But we're trying to clean up the wiring here. Out of your ACC, you're going to come down into your gray wire on your ignition module. Now on the stock wiring harness, your white and black and your gray were up at the handlebars. Your white and black killed power to your ignition module. On our bike, we're going to run power to both the white and black and the gray. You have a black wire coming out of your stock ignition module. That's going to be your ground. From your ignition module to your cam position, there's going to be a stock factory plug there. It's like a Molex plug. That, just leave that all in one piece. Just plug it together. Now all you really have left to do here is your green wire for your starter. That's a momentary switch. When you turn your key and it springs back, that's going to be your start wire. It's a green wire in the harness. So chop that out of the harness and reuse that. It's a spade connector in the side of your starter. Come right out of your key switch, right down to your starter. You have your ground going right directly to your frame. You have your ground on your ignition module. You have your ground on your tail light and your ground on your headlight. If you're mounting your headlight to your front forks like I did, run yourself a ground, hide it behind your key switch, and ground it to the top of the engine there. But this is pretty much bare bones, just enough to get you a headlight, tail light, brake light, and get the bike running. But this is everything from the stock harness. And just make sure if you're using the ignition module, it has to have it's the pink wire that you're going to want to use that harness. And then you can use the 2-wire coil that comes stock with the bikes. So I hope that helps somebody, and that's how we're going to wire up this bike. And hopefully, if I wire all this properly, we should be able to kick the bike over tonight and see if we get some compression out of it, because that would be very cool. All right, let's jump into it. So we're about to do some stupid stuff. I got to lift the back of the bike up so I can slide the battery in through the bottom. So I'm going to lift it up and then put this under the back tire and let it back down. So the objective is to get the battery in the bottom, get that mounted up there, and then drop the bike back down again. You won't believe it. The washer again Dude, Jesus, man. One thing after another. All right, let's give this another shot. That took a while. Battery's in. I'm tired. So let's see if we can get the starter wire in. Start there. All right, so I think I got a good compromise here. I think I got a good bend on the wire. Go something like that. Got about a 1/2 inch from the chain behind the oil line. I would like to go like that, but it's not going to happen, I don't think. Starter wire's done. I plugged in the green wire. That's going to be going to the starter, the bottom half. All right, let's move to the other side of the bike where all the magic happens. So we have to bring down our brake switch. Okay, so that's for the brake switch. We have to run another red one down for power up this way. We also got to run the green wire for the starter solenoid. So we got all this wire from the original harness. We're going to try to use that as much as we could of the original harness. Let's cut that and use that wire. Boom. Taillight. Power going up. To the switch. Damn, we got to bring another one down after the switch. So we need 2 more wires. Running lights, switch goes on, and then starter switch. So we're back at it. I started putting the eye loops on this for the ignition. Basically, we're just going to keep on going, try to make it look as factory as possible. Got the shrink tubing on there, some eye loops. This is for the coil, and we got our grounds. We'll do a couple more and get that ignition in place with the key. Let's hit it. So because I did that, I can't see the wire, so I'm going to have to ohm out each one to find out where it is down here. Let's hook up the ground, and then we'll do the ignition. I might wire this first and then do the ground. So let me see what is what. That one is 12 volts coming up, so the battery one. When I was welding, I got pieces of weld on the threads. Messed it up. All right. So we have it wired up to where you turn it all the way to the right, and that is the starter. One click back, keys out. I was kind of hoping I can wire this up and then slide it in through the back all in one shot, and then do the ground wire right here. I'm gonna get the channel locks for that, because there's nothing worse than going to turn the key and the whole thing turns in one shot. Perfect. All right. Bring the big boys. We don't want it to move. So all this ground was for the headlight. We had ran down a separate ground for the headlight. All right, we are solid back there. We're putting in the circuit breaker. We're going to mount. This is the original circuit breaker from the Buell. That's the holder for it. We're going to mount it right around here. I already have this connected to the positive side of the battery. And we're going to mount that bracket over there, put an eye loop in. So there's going to be two things mounted to this side of the battery side. We got the battery, and then also, oh no, actually just the battery is going to this side. And then this side is going up to the switch, and then also the positive side of the voltage regulator. So that's going to go on that side. Get this mounted up. So now this side of that is going to get this red wire and the wire for the voltage regulator that gets plugged into here. So that's going to end up being up in here, somewhere right around there. It makes it hard because you want the wire to look clean, and there's quite a bit of wiring. Try to find the best route to run everything so it looks nice. I think that'll look good in there, and that'll put that right about here. So we have the other eye loop, whatever the heck I did with it. Shrink tubing, 12 volts to the voltage regulator. So the next one that's going to go on there, I'm kind of going backwards now. Like I started at the headlight, worked our way down to here. Headlight, ignition. I still got to do the coil. Worked our way down to where the oil tank is. Then I hooked up the battery, and I started working my way back from the battery. This one is going here. Actually, you know what? There's another one that has to go to that too. The module, the ignition module needs power. So what I think we're gonna do, that's gonna get zip tied to there. Follow that tube. That's gonna get done there. So I think I'm gonna take two of these wires and cut them off. And we'll throw a piece of shrink wrap over that to get rid of that mess. So this is the harness for the ignition module. So according to the wiring diagram, gray got tied into white and black at the coil, and that was the power side. Pink actually goes up, which is right here, to the other side of the ignition coil. The coil up there, the pink wire delivers a negative pulse, and the coil actually has power all the time going to it. So, well, with the key. So gray is going to go here, but we don't know. I don't know where I'm going to mount this. I kind of dropped the ball on that. The mounting of the ignition coil. I mean, the ignition module. But I need to hook this up somewhere. So this is going to have to go into the bike somewhere because everywhere it just looks terrible. Purple wire does not get used. That's for the vacuum switch. We're going to cut that out. So we need to get some more shrink wrap on this one. So we have these three left. One's a starter. Pink one's going to the module down here. Let's do these. Let's do the starter. So the green wire is coming directly from the starter. We're going to get some shrink tubing on that. So I left this end open so I can get these tubes up in there, and then I'll heat that whole thing at the same time, theoretically. That is solid and not going nowhere. Although, what the heck? Gonna have to fix that. So I replaced that piece. The wire was actually poking through the shrink wrap, so I had to cut it out. We have brake light and running light. That's it. Green to orange, red to red. Getting close, getting very close. We only have one wire left, and that'll be the pink from the ignition. So what I'm gonna have to do is heat up these lines again so I can bend them and then start zip tying nicey nice. And then we need black wire, needs to be grounded. Don't need shrink tubing for that. Clean the ground off on the frame, and then might be able to kick the bike over. All right, let's get some stuff zip tied and get right back to you. We got all the wiring up through there. Everything's nice and tight, zip tied. All that wiring's hidden in the back. We have our fuse breaker right there. It resets by itself. And all we have left to do is get the ground on there. We can actually kick over the bike and see if we got anything. But first I got to grind that down. So the ground, because there's powder coat on that, on the edge there. So this was, I think it was the ground on that bike. It came with in the box of parts from Bike Project. And I just made it to fit in here. Well, hopefully it fits in there. Get a Phillips and whatever size this Allen key is. Also, we have the ignition ground that's going to have to get hooked up. I made this whole setup too for that. Fits in pretty well. I have to grind a tiny bit off of there to fit in that frame. I don't know if it's going to fit in there well. Take a little bit off that edge. Be right back. Is that Mr. B? Is that my boy? Come here, boy. Come here. It's dinner time, guys. Got to go cook some steak.
Hey, hit it with the salt head.
All right, we are back with a full belly, and we're going to finish up on this ground wire. All right, so other than ignition module, which basically just gets plugged in here, that gets plugged into here, and then I'm going to put the coil in. I think what we're going to do first is take these plugs out and then see if she cranks over. See if the brake light works. Looks so far so good. It looks like we got everything wired in. I'm going to take those spark plugs out and kick it over. Look at this chaos over here of wiring, just wiring everywhere. Wire, wire, wire. Okay, plugs are out. Cross your fingers. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, boy. Well, we got compression. I heard it. You heard it here first. So what do we got left to do here? Fuel tank, carburetor, exhaust. I got something else. Check this out. Picked up the seat. I think it fits the bike perfect. Should be comfortable. It's got the gel in it. I'm going to put Velcro here, up in here, and then probably a small piece in the back to hold it in place. But I think that seat fits the bike perfect. I think we did pretty darn good. I'll finish the wiring for the ignition module off camera. All right, so that's going to be a wrap for this video. In the next episode, we should have this bike off the lift and running. So please stay tuned for that. As always, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later.